and start. It's 3 o'clock. Got to start to finish, right? Welcome to the 2021 board budget proposal. I'm Bruce Cox. I'm the treasurer of the board. There are several members of the board here, but we will get started, and at the end we will have questions and answers, so just hold on to your questions till we get through. Well, that's not working. It worked 5 minutes ago. Yeah. There we go. First of all, I want to say that as we put this budget together, we think about our vision and our mission statements, and we try to hold to our core values as we go through this budget. So as you see the budget, think about those, especially the core values, as we go through this. These are the members of the board of directors. The senior managers are mostly in attendance. I think I saw all of them here. And then the other groups that contributed to putting this budget together were the Strategic Planning Committee, the Major Capital Projects Committee, and the Financial Advisory Committee. And let me go through the process, how we got here. It's a very involved process that takes literally hundreds of hours of time to put together. Back in July, the board started meeting periodically to talk about the master capital projects that we want to do in 21 and even beyond in the next 5 years. And we held several meetings over time between July and September. About that same time, the SMTs, the senior management team, started working on the operations budget in the July timeframe and worked on that up until the September timeframe. And part of the Strategic Planning Committee's process was done back in 2019. We charged them with going out and taking a look and surveying other resort communities, seeing what they have, doing some studies, and coming back to us and saying, look, here's what other resort communities have. We compare that to what we have, and here's some things we ought to think about, whether it's facilities or activities or whatever, as we put these plans together. So that's the role of the Strategic Planning Committee. And if you haven't seen those presentations, they are out on the web under the board committee piece of the members web. You can look at those presentations that were made in 2019. So the board worked on the capital projects, the senior management team worked on the operations part of the budget, and then come September, that was put together, and it was sent to the Financial Advisory Committee for their review. And the Financial Advisory Committee sent an entire week where they actually assign individuals from the FAC to pieces of the budget. For instance, somebody's assigned to admin, somebody's assigned to golf, somebody's assigned to sewer. And they get with their counterparts on the senior management team, and they actually walk through the details of the budget with them. Then there's a second week where the FAC spends the entire week, and they meet as a committee with each senior manager and goes through the budget one more time. Then the FAC meets on its own for 2 days, and they go through the budget, they make their comments and recommendations, and in the October board meeting, the FAC came to the board and made their recommendations and comments to the board. Now, all that sounds pretty simplistic when I say it like that, but it literally is hundreds of hours of a lot of work to put this together. Now, the board takes the information they heard from the FAC along with the input from the SMTs and the board themselves, and this is what you're going to see now. And there's three people I have to have stand up, and I want to thank. One is Denise Dixon, who's our Director of Finance. Amy Blanton-Kincaid, thank you. One is Amy Blanton-Kincaid, the Financial Operations Manager. Amy's right there. And Angie Clanton, who's our Controller. These three ladies deserve an award because they had to put up with me for the last 2 weeks putting this together, and they developed this show for you with a lot of I couldn't count the changes we made as we went through this, but they're real troopers, and I owe them big time. Remember that, Denise. I owe you. So, whatever. Okay. So let's get started. We have two divisions here, sewer division and the POA division. They are entirely separate. We have a sewer process that is unto itself. And if you'll notice, one of the things you'll see all day is we have highlighted the 21 budget so that you can see it distinctly from the 20 budget. 2020 is obviously an unusual year for all of us, and it was so in finance as well, trying to manage through this. Now, fortunately for sewer, it was a pretty normal year for sewer because we all have to use it, and we didn't do anything with it. So sewer's pretty normal year. We'll get to the POA, and I'll show you the changes, adjustments we had to make because of the COVID shutdown, et cetera. We'll talk about that. Speaking of that, how many of you have read my treasurer's report? You don't have to lie. Hey, actually, some people read it. I was in a group meeting the other day, and they said, "What treasurer's report?" That was kind of disappointing. But anyway, I'm glad some folks read it. But here's the sewer operations. Back up. We had sewer operations, sewer tap fees, sewer collection system fees. Sewer collection system fees are what you and I pay every month if you have sewer. If you don't have sewer, like some folks are on septic, but they don't pay that, but the rest of us do. And so there's the revenue, and you can see it's fairly consistent. Now, sewer taps are down a bit in here only because of less homes being, sewer taps is when somebody connects to the sewer system. We collect a tap fee and a capacity fee, and the capacity fee goes to capital, and the tap fees go to operations. And so if you look at 2020, we hope to end up around $1.7 million of ending cash in sewer. And in 21, we will gain some cash, hopefully have about $2 million in operations. And I'll talk about why we need to watch that number. Capital-wise, there's the availability fees, the sewer capacity fees. Availability fees are fees that people pay who own lots when we put a sewer line in a subdivision. When a sewer becomes available to them, then we will charge that lot owner or homeowner an availability fee. The capacity fee, again, is charged whenever they actually tap into the sewer line. That capacity fee is put in a separate account. And the purpose of that capacity fee is to grow dollars so that when the time comes for us to increase sewer capacity down at the processing plant, we have cash to do that with. And then we're going to end up projected ending cash there about $971,000 this year and about $500,000 next year. And that's because we are going to do two big projects in 21. We're going to do the Oak Knoll main redirect system and a collection system, and we're going to also do some future pump station engineering design. So the thing about sewer I've learned really quickly is when we do something in sewer, it's big. It's big dollars. If you remember a couple years ago, we put in a new line all the way down the sewer treatment plant, and that was well over $1 million to put that line in. So sewer, we need cash in sewer. The other thing we're doing right now is the board approved $119,500 this year to have McGill Engineering come in and do a 10-year study. And Bruce is working with them to do that. What we're trying to find out is what do we think we need to do over the next several years as far as sewer is concerned to maintain capacity and maintain the system itself. And so when we get this study done, then we will sit down and look at, okay, where are we on cash? And what do we need to balance that out? So I'm really looking forward to getting that study done, and that'll tell us how we're doing. I'm very comfortable that we're in good shape. It's a matter of do we need to make some other adjustments, and we won't know that till then. The other thing I want to make sure you remember is that we actually paid off the sewer debt in October 2019, so sewer is debt-free, which is a big statement for an operation like that. Okay, let's talk about the operating results for POA. catch up to myself here. Again, 2021 budget is over here. 2020 was an interesting year. We started the year and said, we're in great shape, we're going to run right along, and then come March, we shut down. And we shut down all the way through April. And I'll get to those numbers in a minute, but I'll commend several groups for what they did there. But here's the 20 budget. Here's where we expect to be. For POA, we expect to have a subtotal of up 1.9 million. Next year, around 200,000, and I'll go through that. You can see by departments what we're doing from year to year. One of the things of interest is the fire department. We have given them $120,000 in cash. This number you see here is the $120,000 in cash that we give them, plus things we do for them in kind, like cut the grass, pay the property tax on the building. Also, the firemen, in appreciation for them volunteering, get to use our amenities without paying, for free. And so we threw that money in there. It's money we actually do contribute to the fire department in kind. Now, next year, we're going to raise the actual cash contribution to the fire department to $132,000. We're going to raise it $1,000 a month. And also, in addition to the $132,000, there's $47,000 worth of in-kind services and comp services that we provide to the fire department. You can see each of those departments. I'll talk in detail about, for instance, community maintenance is going up to $2.8 million, and I'll talk some about that in a minute. Here's the amenities, F&B. One of the issues with F&B is our plan in 21 is to operate in the same manner we are currently operating in F&B. In other words, we're going to social distance. We're only going to have about, when we go back to Stonehenge, about 60% capacity in the restaurant, and that obviously limits the amount of revenue we can pull in. So that's why you see that. What else is there? CC and Recreation is about flat with where we were. We hope to end up with $3 million of cash in POA operations, and I'll talk about that on the next slide about how we get there. But we look at the 21 budget, and we hope to end up about the same place at the end of 21 with ending cash in POA. So I want to talk about 20 for a bit. We were shut down from March 21st through April 30th, as you well know. I applaud the board for taking that action. I think it was the right thing to do. And then after that, we gradually reopened. And the one thing I wanted to tell you that probably most people don't know is the board has had weekly Wednesday conference calls every week. We've missed a few here recently because things are pretty calm right now, and talk about this very issue. What do we want to do? Do we want to open things more? Do we want to shut some things down? And so the board has spent every week talking about this issue. We actually lost $1.9 million of amenity fee revenue by shutting down. I mean, obviously nobody was using the amenities, so you don't get the revenue. So immediately the board took a look at that, and they made two quick decisions. One is, after a survey by Sam, we said, hey, don't think we need to do road paving this year. There's no urgent need, there's no safety issues, and so we just flat didn't do road paving, which is $650,000. And if you've read my treasurer's report, you know that already. And the other one that we decided to do was not to do any lake desilting this year, which is $165,000. Now, subsequent to that, we still needed more money to reduce our expenses. And so we went out to the SMTs and said, hey, with Bob and the SMTs, you need to help us out. And they did a tremendous job. I have praised them in several meetings, and I'll praise them again today. I think they did a tremendous job of controlling their expenditures throughout the year. And by doing that, we saved in wages and benefits $750,000. And wages and benefits are one of our largest expenses in operations. And yet, the SMTs and their organization were able to save $750,000 Cost of sales, $475,000, because quite frankly, we weren't open, so we weren't buying some stuff, so that definitely helps, but it was being controlled. Repair and maintenance, $171,000, chemicals, advertising. The sum total of everything we say was, along with this, is $2.4 million. So we actually gained in cash from where we lost in revenue. And I got to tell you that I've run facilities in large corporations, and that's a task that's unreal. They did a tremendous job of managing our money while we were in this shutdown arena. So I really applaud the SMTs and Bob for doing this savings in operations. Now let's get into some capital things. There are two pieces of capital that we spend in POA. One is recurring capital, and the other is major projects, and I will get to the recurring capital or the major projects in a moment. But in the recurring capital, catch up to myself. What I wanted to show here was, if you look at these three bars, this is 2020 projected. We're projecting to spend just under $1.6 million in recurring capital. In 21, we're projecting to spend around $1.68, and in 22, right below $160. The average of that red line, is $1.66 million, and that's kind of what we spend every year on recurring capital. And you might ask, what's recurring capital? Well, recurring capital are things like keeping the IT networks up to date. Buying golf carts. We buy golf carts every year. We rotate the 5 courses. Over 5 years, we replace the golf carts. It's those kinds of things that we do on recurring capital. Along with fire hydrants. We buy 15 fire hydrants a year. It's things that occur via new vehicles. It's just, again, just what it says, it's recurring every year. And that's a pretty good average. We spend around $1.65 million a year on recurring capital. Master plan projects, this is in the POA portion. I'll run through these quickly. The police department building, we bought that several years ago. We've been modernizing it, and we're going to finish that this year. And so that project will finish. Community master plan, we're going to work on that next year. We're going to include Tom Anderson in conversations about where we want to take the community as far as land usage and those kinds of things. Improved sense of arrival. We did some work, as you can tell outside here. There's a poster of the different sign styles that we're going to use, and we hired an architect design guy to do that. Next year we'll be spending the money to put that sign in once and if and once they ever get the Peavine Road done, which I've got faith. I do. Salt storage building. We have a salt storage building, and if you see the salt storage buildings along the interstate, they're concrete walls way up, and then they have a dome top. Well, ours isn't, and we tend to push it down, so we're going to build one similar to what the state has, to where our guys can get in there and push and pick up salt and have much better operation. So we're going to do that. Fire station roof we repaired this year. Next year, we're going to put an addition to the Dartmoor. There's a fire station up by Dartmoor Marina, and we're going to put an addition onto that for them to store a new truck that they're getting, plus a 4-wheel vehicle that they use for outside in the wilderness areas. So we're going to put that building up and let them store that. And then in 2022, there's some design work we want to do to renovate the current building to separate the EMS quarters. Right now, the EMS folks are all in one room, and they're male and female and that kind of thing. So we've got to do some separation of that and separate the EMS from the fire department. So we're planning on doing that in 22. Now, master plan projects. Concert Park at Mirror Lake, we're going to invest $50,000 this year, $100,000 next year, and what that is for additional pathways and lighting of pathways that we all use day in and day out. Tom is building the stage down there, as you can tell if you've been through there, but we believe we need to also upgrade the paths and the lighting down there, not just for concerts, but for everyday use of our residents, and so we're contributing to that. The bathrooms will get done. I think one of those is going to get pushed into 2021, Jeff, I believe that's right. So we'll get 2 of those done this year, and we'll do 1 next year. The bunkers are done. Stonehenge Clubhouse renovations, we're into phase 2. We shut it down, and I was just talking with Dave Miser from MCPC, and that project is started now, and they're starting to tear the roof off. We're going to expand the kitchen, and the chef has actually done the design of that layout of the kitchen, so we have a much better flow, no interruption between servers and the chefs, and so it's going to be a much better designed kitchen, along with putting up a porte-cochere out front where you can pull up like you do at Legends, let people off in bad weather, and so you're going to see, and there are examples of that. There's what do I want to say? Rendering, thank you. There's a rendering of that you can take a look at, but that's well underway. That project will finish by March 15th so that we can reopen Stonehenge on April 1st. No, the size of the dining room, we just finished that project this past year, and so the dining room is what the dining room is.
That's where it's going to remain.
The Racket Center, that's the renovation that we're going to do. We're going to, it actually got started last week, or this week on Monday. And we're actually going to the main building you see that is the width of the building. That building is going to get torn down here shortly and get totally replaced. The advantage of that is it's an 80s, 70s, 80s kind of building. It really is in disrepair and needs to be renovated. And what the MCPC found out was that it would be much more efficient to just tear it down and put up a new building. This is the project that I'm very proud of, the Major Capital Projects and the Racket Sports Committee. They actually worked together in designing that project and what they wanted inside that building. And it's really the first project where the folks who are going to use the building itself and the folks who are designing it work together to come up with this design. And so I'm really anxious to get that, see how that finishes. It won't finish until probably the April, May kind of time frame, Dave. I think that's about.
Hopefully before Memorial Day.
Okay, all right. Robin Hood Park improvements, if we can get the road done, we will put the parking lots and renovate the pavilion down there and put Robin Hood Park back in play for us to use. But it all depends on when they get the road surfacing done. But that's what these monies are for. And then in 2022, we'll continue to put in and expand Robin Hood Park. The restrooms at the square, we're actually going to put in restrooms at the square where we currently hold the Mirror Lake Blast. We'll, instead of using porta potties anymore, we'll actually have restrooms up there for folks to use. The Heatherhurst Restroom and Pro Shop, we're going to start that here probably December and finish it right after the first of the year. We're going to renovate the restrooms at the Heatherhurst Pro Shop building and then renovate the Pro Shop as well. And then we're going to talk about renovating the snack bar, the rest of that building, which would start in the fall of next year and go into 2022 in that time frame. It's another project where we're going to get the golf committee, working with the Major Capital Projects Committee, and design how